You see these rocks, this is known as riprap, and it's used in dams and reservoirs in a lot of different areas. It's used along the dams to keep from washing, and along causeways, roads across the lake. As fishermen, we just don't want to pass these things up. Several things involved in it. It's usually the deepest water in the lake there, but also you have access to a causeway, for instance. The water you have where it crosses, where the water goes under a causeway, that's the deepest water in the area. This gives you access to a causeway. But the main thing is that when you go to a causeway, you can look at a lot of things. You can look at the watercolor on one side and watercolor on the other side. And normally, there'll be a difference in this. So you really have a selection of watercolor. Not every time, but most of the time. Usually this riprap can be in a dam, can be on a road crossing the lake, or it can be in a breakwater. A lot of places we just have a breakwater. But you don't pass them up. You always want to check them out, because in a lot of reservoirs, they leave the trees in here, and along the causeways, it's always clean. It's area that you can always fish. Now, in trolling, the best way to start this thing is to troll it. And I start out just as close as I can to these rocks and things. And what I want to do is I'm running the lure. I want it to hit the tops of the rocks. I'm going to start out with this one to run. I can get this small lure just in as close to this rocks as I can. And I'm going to troll it, and I'm going to let out enough line just so that I hit the tops of these highest rocks. Now this is very important that you adjust your line length and where the boat is so that you just hit the tops of the rocks. I'll make my passes of this size, which will take me down to the 2 to 3 feet. Then after I do that one, I will get the next size, which is a 400. This is going to take me down to about 6 feet, 4 to 6 feet. I'll let out, say, 30 to 60 yards of line, and I'll move into where it just barely is touching the tops of the rocks. And then after I've made a pretty good run with this one, then I'll get a bigger one, the 250. Now that's going to take me down to 8 to 9 feet. With a short line, I'm around 6 feet. So what I'm doing with these 3 lures here, here's the causeway. I'm going here, the riprap. Then I'm going here, and then I'm going here. Now after that gets me down to about 9 feet. Now after I do that, I may want to go a little bit deeper. I'm going to get a couple lures here. So the next pass, I'm going to go a little bit deeper. This will take me down to about 12 feet. That's a 200. This one, after I've made a pass at that, letting out my line, come along and just tipping these rocks, tipping the tops of the rocks. I'm getting way down in here around 12 feet by this time. If I don't hit a fish, then I go to the next size. I seem to have a lot of red ones here this morning. I'm not going to bother with them. I got them all tangled up. This is going to take me down about 14, 15 feet. Normally by this time, I should find some fish against the riprap. No use to go down real farther. Now it's very important in running each one of these size lures that you just have exactly enough line out. If you're running too much line, you're going to be down in those rocks. If you get in too close, you're going to be down in the rocks and you get hung up. So you set your distance and just the size lure. Get in close with this one, let out about 2 colors, for instance, in a no-bowl line. Move in till you feel it tip, 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 tipping tops of the rocks. Do the same thing with this one, same thing with this one, same way with this one, same way with this one until you get downstairs. By that time, when you've made your passes along the riprap, If you haven't caught one, it's not likely that they're there. Let's take this situation that we're fishing here right now. I want you to look at this. It's real cold, and I'm going to use about these three sizes, because I feel, and looking at the watercolor and the weather's not too good, but I've got a good watercolor here, that by the time I get down to this size, that should tell me whether there's any fish active along this riprap. I want to see if we can get a color, some color of this water, which is a white sandy. And of course, you know, if you know me, that's what I'm looking for. Let me take a lure. Let me see if I can find a white lure. I'm going to put this white lure on, and I want to show you the white sandy water and why I said that we should be able to find these fish in this section of water. Somewhere between, as close as I can get it, 2 feet of water, for instance, with this one, and down to 8 feet. And looking at the weather, and which is, see, I got some vapor trails up there. You see them? And although it's cold, but the watercolor is one of my controlling factors here. By the time I get through these, and probably by the time I get to this one, I should find out whether there's any fish here. So I'm going to take this white lure, and I'm going to put it in the water. And this is a white sandy, and I think you'll understand why I'm just probably hoping that I'll find the fish with these right here. Now, you say, well, they are going to be all small fish. Not necessarily. We're going to catch fish here with these lures that happen to move up. They could be real good fish, or they could be small. But the way I'm looking at the weather and this watercolor, I'm expecting to get some big fish, pretty good sized fish. Now, I want you to follow this with the camera, so if you see just about, now I got about a foot of line there, haven't I? Can you see that? About a foot. Now I'm going to drop over here, and you follow the lure over. I'm going to drop this lure, and you see I got about a foot here. Now, I want you to be sure you can get the color. I'm going to go down very slowly. Is it gone? Gone. You don't see it, do you? No. Okay, I'm going to come up about 4 inches. See it? Yes. Okay, go down again. Good watercolor. And then by doing it that way, I feel that those first 3 lures, which will take me down. You see it? Here, see? Watch. Now let me pull it and see if you see it wiggling. Did you see that depth? You didn't see it, did you? Okay, I'll try to hold it up here at the surface. See it? Okay, you're about that deep. You see where it started fading out? Could you see that? If you looked at the watercolor and how important the watercolor is, and I'm trying to impress upon you, and we'll do some fishing, and I hope that with this watercolor and everything, you're going to see some fish caught with this lure and these sizes right here. And I want you to know, pay attention, because too many people say they'll pass up this. What this does is that if you look at the trolling procedure, I tell you, is to start just as shallow as you can go. Now, I'll grant you that I say the deep water is the home of the fish, but periodically they will become active and may move toward the shallows. Now, it may not happen very long, but if you, any time that you happen to pass up the shallows, that's just about the time that they're going to move in. So, a fish day's fishing, the fish are not active, they're not moving all day long, but lots of times you have some stragglers. But you'll check out the shallows, and you work right on downstairs on your structure. This normally is going to follow contours of the bottom, checking out the shallows. Then when you get into these larger lures, you're going to start working structure. That is bars and things that the fish use in their movements and migration. You may have to go on downstairs to say 20 feet or 23 feet. But then you'll start over if you haven't hit the fish. Because while you were down in this area, some could have slipped by you. Now as you get older and experienced in spoon plugging, you'll look at the weather and things and the watercolor, and pretty soon you can just about figure whether they're going to be in this section or they're going to be in this section. But don't expect that to happen overnight. You'll never get to the point you can't become a better fisherman, especially in the interpretation of structure downstairs and the weather and the watercolor. The watercolor, I want to impress upon you, is so important. I spend the first day driving around the lake. What am I looking for? First thing, I'm going to cross the riprap. If there's a causeway, I'm going to look at the water on this color. I'm going to look at the water on that side. I'm going to see if there's a difference in watercolor. Then I'm going to continue around the lake until I find an area that has structure situations. And by this time, you should know what I'm talking about. Can I present lures good? Is there a bunch of trees so bad that I can't fish it? Is the moss or the weeds so bad I can't fish it? Well, I'm going to find these things out as I drive around the lake. But when I go across the causeway, I'm going to see some watercolor. As I drive around the lake, I'm going to see some watercolor. So if I don't show anything else today, is the importance of watercolor, the importance of the riprap, you don't pass it up, and the importance of straining this and not go downstairs. You strain it. I'm going to start here, I'm going here, and I'm going here, and I'm going here, and I'm going here. Now, today, I may not go downstairs. That's pretty good watercolor. The weather isn't too bad. If you see it, you'll see some high cirrus and some vapor trails are sticking up there. Do you see them? Look, vapor trails, high cirrus. And look at that watercolor. Even though it's down close to freezing last night, I don't care. The fish may not jump much, but we'll see today what's here. Now you watch me what I'm going to do here on these lure sizes and how I work the riprap. One thing I told you, now remember, when you're working, you want to let out enough line per size to just feel it touching. Now the guy running the boat tries to hold the boat in position. In other words, if I let out a certain line and I'm so far from the bank here, I'm going to try to hold that thing. But you do have another little key. If wind blows you and you're going down here and you're getting out of line and this lure doesn't work quite right, you get it bumping, and all at once you find yourself you've gotten out too far. Show you a little trick. That rod's sitting out there. You get it going to where you're just barely tipping, tip, 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 and all at once it starts bumping too much, and you look up, you've come in too close. Just raise that rod tip. Slowly raise the rod tip. And then you move it back out, and she's bumping, still bumping, tip, 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 not bumping too hard, and then all at once, since you moved it out, the thing's running free. So you just drop the rod tip, and you feel it tip, 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 tip. Now you see how that'll compensate for how crooked you're running the boat. You just raise your rod tip, 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 and it bumping. If it's bumping too heavy, then it starts running free and not bumping. You just lower the rod tip, and in the meantime, you maneuver the boat a little bit too. So you can go down through there, even though you might be a little black snaking it a little bit, you just compensate that by raising the rod tip and lowering the rod tip. And as soon as you feel it tip, 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 tipping the tops of those rocks, then then you're fishing. That's the way to fish a riprap. Okay? See it tipping?
Beautiful.
Dip it. See it?
You betcha.
You'll notice I'm going real slow because it was real cold last night. In fact, it was below freezing. So I'd have to go slow, but I'll check out the speeds, but most likely it's going to be quite slow. I'll move in now until I feel her bumping, and I'll straighten up. And I'll keep the rod tip about right there so that as I start tipping, I'll be able to maneuver the rod tip up a little bit. It's starting to tip. I got out just a little bit too far then. Don't worry about it if you can't keep it bumping all the time. Now I'm bumping. If I felt like I'd get the bumping too hard, I'll just raise the rod tip a little bit. I'll go back down. Now I'm hitting it just right. If the fish are moving, it's pretty early in the morning, so maybe we'll hit the fish just a little bit later. And we're going to pick up Jerry anyway. And Jack Weber's over here, so they're going to come out in just a few minutes. And so we'll put Jerry in the boat and we'll go to work. Okay? But what's this? Now, if it was a little hotter and in the summertime, and I was working this in when it was real warm, I would increase my speed. Now, you see it touching? But you see it, I got this little speed to it. And in the summertime, hot weather, this would be about where I'd start. And then I'd probably go a little bit faster than this. Now, on our next pass, we'll go a little bit deeper. That's one. And that goes apple. Oh, whoa. Come in there close. That's about 400. See it? You saw me catch that fish with this little forehand. Now, a lot of times when working the riprap, you got to figure that you're going to have hot spots. This hot spots along a riprap on a causeway or a dam or even on a breakwater is caused by there's something downstairs that lead the fish to that particular spot. There might be some scattered fish all along, but I heard you'll hardly ever find a riprap that won't have a hot spot. It could be a ramp or something that came up. It could be a bar that came up. It could be that a channel swung in close like that. And on many of them, when they build the riprap and stuff, the causeway or the dam, they'll close off the main stream and put the channel somewhere else, or the outlet somewhere else. So that means that old river channel or creek channel came in and stopped. They just blocked it off. That gives them a perfect route into against the rocks. So this gives you a hot spot. Now you just saw me catch that fish. Now we had caught some in that general area, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to go there and cast it, because the hot spots, when you hit several fish in a particular area, you go back and cast it, because that's the hot spot. It'll be many times you may just limit out right there. Okay, so we're going to go back and I'm going to let the boat drift a little bit and cast that area and see if there's any more fish there. As cold as it is, and the way it's been acting, I don't think it'll be a school, but I can't pass it up because we've caught a couple of fish right in that area. Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to a larger lure just to cast it in, because I'll stay out from the area. To start with, I may move in real close to the bank and cast up and down the bank just like I was doing the trolling. But first, since right in there is area, I don't want to get the boat in there too close, so let me do a little casting there, a little fan casting in that general area. Now that size lure will be bumping those rocks as I come out. And that's what I want to do. It won't take many casts to find out whether there's any in there. I'm going to let it sink just a little bit and be sure I get down against those rocks. And I'll start my retrieve. You can pick up most any size lure and cast, which makes it easier for you. Now I would cast that. I just do the fan casting all around there. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to move over there and kind of drift down the side of it and make my cast down kind of like the troll. So I'm going to back up here, right in there's area. I'm going to back up and make my cast in that hot spot. Now I believe the wind will drift us a little bit, and I got below here so the sun don't bother us, and right in here is the way I'm going to make my cast up and down this shoreline. And you see the shoreline there? Now I'll do it different depths here. See it bounce? I'm bouncing the bottom, just about exactly like the troll. It won't take many casts here to figure out just what it is. I'm gonna let her sink a little bit, so I'll be sure that size lure gets down there and I get to walking. You may not be able to see that, but it's just bouncing along the rocks, just like I did on the troll. Okay, I'm gonna come bouncing right down through there where the hot spot was. And then I'm gonna do one more. I'm swinging out just a little bit and getting just a little bit deeper. I'm bouncing just real good. He wasn't there.
Yeah.
I've got him.
One drop. Let that down.
That's like something else now, doesn't it? Do we need the net? Ooh, that's a nice fish.
Now, see how close those rascals are? That little 500. Big enough to put a net on?
I don't know.
Huh?
Oh, he was. Did you see that?
You got it?
Oh. Scold that little stinker, Buck.
Let me see if he got a hook on you.
You got him.
Oh.
That pretty?
Oh boy.
That's what we get out here in the middle of the lake.
Hit it?
Yep.
Keep it going. Get it, boy. Wait a minute, get that net back. Now put it in the water. Put it in the water. Just hold it right there. Now, get it. Now you like those apples. Got to go back.
Look, how come he's all beat up on both sides of him?
Just keep it running.
I think got all those scars on it.
I got some more in there. Let's see the lure. Yeah.
Can't hardly miss
Oh boy.
Oh boy,
Let's
that's
see you
heavy.
turn that rascal loose.
What do you think? We're shooting now.
Woo!
Yeah, a bear.
Yes.
Hey.
Oops, look at this.
Oh, look, he pooped all over you.
Yeah.
Look at the size of this thing. Look at that. Look at the size of that thing.
I got you. Yeah, that looks pretty good.
You better believe it.
Jerry, you grinning at me? Look up there. Look up there, my boy.
Nice fish.
Okay.
Crazy.
You don't think that's a sequence?
That's good. Yeah. Boy, that's a big
boy.
fish.
Ooh, you know that's a nice bass, ain't it?
Yeah, it is. That's a real nice bass. Woo!
Come over here and help us hold these fish up while he's making this flill them.
Get in here beside us.
Get beside Buck.
Hold these fish sideways.
Oh, like this.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh, ooh, ooh,
Hey, like that, boy.
I like it.
Can you see?
You bet.
Is it?
Yeah, what is that? Just say something.
Big bass. About a 6.5 pounder here.
You're not kidding. That's 6.5 pounder, boy. And you know that last one you lost must have been at least 6.5 pounder. What do you say? When we were down along the riprap sitting in the boat, we talked a lot about the riprap and the causeways, those things that cross the lake. I pointed out the fact that it's important that when these were available, that you should drive across them and keep your eyes open. So I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but I do want to show and impress upon you the importance of your observations and around these type features. So with that thought in mind, let's make a trip across this dam. As I will repeat many times, the riprap situation, and to look a lake over, you want to drive around it as much as you can. If you can, drive across the lake, the dam, especially on flatlanders, you be sure and do it, because this is a structure situation that you've got to be very much aware of. Also, causeways are where roads cross the lake. You want to follow it. You want to look down and observe anything that you can see on the riprap along the dam. Lots of times you come to a spot where you'll see a bar reaching out. Well, you've already studied the map and probably can see where the river channel hit the riprap. A lot of times when you have an outlet like a flood control dam like that, you'd assume that the channel was right down there at the outlet. That's not true every time. Same with roads crossing the lake. You come to the little bridge where the water goes underneath from one side of the causeway, the roadbed, to the other side. Well, you might assume that that's where the channel was, but that's not always true. The channel may be come in against the dam somewhere else. Maybe they filled it up, and it could just made a coffer dam. They put the outlet most anywhere. But these boys, as you see down there, they're fishing the riprap, and the thing about it, you know, they're pretty smart because they're trolling. This will find all the hot spots along the lake. Hot spots can be caused by an old road bed that they built to raise the water level, to build a dam. Or it could be that a road crossed this area going up the lake, and there's something to lead the fish against the riprap. The channel, any channel, will lead the fish against the riprap. Now, if you got a bar that's going off from the riprap, going out and dropping into the deep water, then that's something else that would lead the fish to the riprap. But you got to be thinking of all these things. Where will the hot spots be? What will lead the fish to this riprap, just like any other structure, any other shoreline? So we're going to go on out here and we're going to observe it with this low water. Maybe we'll see a bar that goes out into the lake that would do it. Now, we're going to do another thing when we come back. It's very important that you observe both sides of the riprap, both sides of the dam, both sides of a causeway, both sides of a road that crosses a reservoir or a lake. Because the backside of these things will show you a lot where the hot spots might be on the front side. Another thing is when you look at the both sides of a causeway or a road that crosses the lake, you're going to see one of the most important observations that you have to make on the reservoir, and that's watercolor. Many times when a road crosses the lake, the riprap is very important from the standpoint of the movement of the fish from the deepest water along the break lines or along the riprap. But when you look on the other side, you're going to observe the watercolor. That's the most important thing, because many times the watercolor will not be the same on both sides. Most of the time, the better watercolor may be above the upstream side of the causeway. Other times it may be below, so you got to look both sides of the causeway. Now we're coming to some bars out here at this low water stage. There must be a break line there, but there's a bar. At high water, you see that could be a hot spot right there. Because that bar goes out there, that other channel coming in there, but that's a bar. I don't know what's here. But let's say that it isn't at this low water stage. You'd have to check this corner right here because that blocks the fish. That's moving along the riprap, and so you'll have a hot spot right there due to the fact that they don't go any farther than that right there. Now, let's raise the water up now as we go along. You see a little kind of wash coming out from in there. And if any fish went up from out in that lake at high water, some of them could go along the riprap right here. And right there would be a hot spot where that water comes in against it. But then the other thing, they would go up that wash over there. It's a little flat, but it is still a wash. You can see the water's coming down through there. Now, it wouldn't be much movement of fish out through there. It'd have to be extremely high water probably for the fish to go any farther than this little wash which is coming just ahead of you. If they did come up that wash right there with a break line, a little gully down there, then when it comes up to where it makes a turn, then it flattens out, there's hardly anything there. But if it had high water, and you'd have to not just fish the riprap, you'd have to fish that little gully there, because they would probably move up that little gully. But I don't care how high the water gets, that big flat there tells me that I'm probably, all that I'm looking at out there is dead water. I wouldn't fish it at high water. There's just not enough depth change. It's too flat and it's too far. When this lake comes up, you're going to see a lot of fishermen, bass fishermen, over there against that shoreline in those bushes fishing, and the fishing water stopped way back here. In the riprap there, the white riprap, that's about where the dam starts bending, and that's just about where the big mud flat starts. And that's a long distance back to here. Now we're coming to a road bed. Now when you look at that road bed at high water, if it was back there, here's something else that could lead you against the riprap. But they got a lot of flats. In other words, this is high water. That's the reason many times that I will not go very far beyond the low water pool. You'd have to check this corner right here because that blocks the fish. That's moving along the riprap, and so you'll have a hot spot right there due to the fact that they don't go any farther than that right there. Can you imagine fish out there in that low water pool getting against that shoreline? I don't know why it'd ever go. Even for spawning, you can spawn anywhere along here. And probably looking at that riprap over yonder where the watercolor is, you wouldn't have more than 2 or 3 feet of water out here. You could at extremely high foot, but you probably wouldn't have this would all be shallow water. And you'll see that they don't get a full pool all the time because we're coming into where the vegetation, there's the look like to me was the last high water area right there. Probably last year or year before last or something like that. Because that weeds, it looked like at least a year or 2 growth there. If you look at the stains on the rock, there's not anymore. So this is a lot of, if you did a lot of fishing on this floodplain here, you'd be fishing most of the time where they ain't. Then you look at the backside. You didn't say that high water, you didn't see any of the flats, you didn't see anything out there. But so you look at the backside. Well, if you look along there, you see this is a great big floodplain that we're going across, flat. So we got to find something to show us what's above here. And many times as you look to the backside of these things, you'll see old channels where the river channel was. You'll see washes, you'll see roads that continued through the dam, and so you had a road bed ahead of it. Then many times they moved the channel of the river and put it somewhere else. And so if you look ahead, you're going to see some washes down yonder with a lot of water. It looked like to me at one time that maybe the channel was here. You maybe just see a great big ditch, which is going to show you something on the upper side. That's that big mud flat we're looking at on the other side. And so you can know it is. Now, if I was to look at this and driving across it, I'd see that bend in the dam. You see that bend in the dam ahead that we saw just kind of swing around there, and you'll see that bend. I'd say there's something changed right there, because there's a reason for making that turn. Now, there's a road bed going there. Maybe that's the road bed we saw on the other side. See it? See that road bed? I mean, that road going down through there, that was a highway. So that means there's no submerged road over here on the other side. Now here's is that curve in the dam. So if we see if there's any ditches or anything or something that went down below there. Now when they got out of the floodplain, that big flat stuff here at the bend, look at the dam, how it changed. See how the depth changed? And the drainage? So that meant the dam went down deeper. I believe I see a hot spot coming that would be on the front side of this thing. They've moved a lot of dirt and so on, but there is a creek or a wash, and over on the other side of the dam, a lot of times you see quite a few of those, and a lot of times the whole main channel, they moved it. But right there's got to be a hot spot or something over here on the other side of the dam. So if you can if we can shoot down through there, can you see it? Swing to the right. See it? There's an old channel. And it would be something over here on the other side. Now a lot of times that what we didn't see on the other side, you heard me say a minute ago that sometimes a ramp quite a few ramps can be over here under the water. Now here's a ramp, what I'm talking about, where they haul the dirt up here to build the dam. And we're coming to a ramp that could be several of these on the inside of this dam, where they got the dirt to build the dam. And you can see, if this was underwater, what a great migration route that would be toward the shallows and to the riprap. Now if you're trolling the front side of this thing and you work your different lures and go down deep, you're going to find all those things over here on this side, over on the water side. Well, it looks like that they didn't move the river channel. Of course, they did some work down there, but they broadened that thing. Back there could have been the original little stream, but they just usually put this right down there. This is a flood control dam, and you don't have a power station and on the flood control dam, and that will be a real fishing hole down there. And I think you'll see a lot of fishermen down there. In the tail races, I've always said that those people who fish there have the nearest best chance